It's always good to see you, Fritz. Got to start off with this question. Tariffs, how does it potentially impact your business? You don't have a lot of exposure to cross-border shipments and things like that, but does it change your planning? Does it change just your outlook for the year?
Not really. I mean, essentially, the way we think about the tariffs, it's really about what it's going to do to potentially do to the broader economy. I mean, I think on the one hand, you could make the argument that, we're going to see more domestic manufacturing or nearshoring, reshoring, however you want to describe that. And that's probably good in total for the LTL business over time. And if it's good for LTL, it's really good for Saia. I think that if we continue kind of in this uncertain sort of path, I think we've got, in our business, we've got to focus on the things that we can control and in the environment that we're in right now. So we'll see how it develops over time. But I think it's really, for us, it's really more about what the impact will be on the broader sort of macro situation.
So, Fritz, we hit on some of your customers, Walmart, Starbucks, Home Depot. I do also have to ask you, what about China trade? What are your customers telling you about just their needs and different issues that may potentially pop up when it comes to these tariffs in China and also the retaliatory tariffs from China that were announced just after midnight?
Listen, I think all those potentially have an impact on our customer base. I mean, we've got a pretty sizable business along the coast, West Coast, East Coast, that is impacted by port activity. Certainly the ongoing tariff battle, shots fired back and forth, certainly has an impact on their longer term planning and their near term planning. We've got to, in our business, what we've got to do is we've stay close to them, continue to support what their needs are as their supply chains change. We have the ability to adapt to their supply chain as it maybe more domestically sourced or sourced from other markets. But certainly any of this creates a fair amount of uncertainty in the market. Our role in that is to really try to facilitate and assist customers in adjusting as they need to meet this uncertainty.
All right. As we look ahead, I should say, you mentioned anything that's good for manufacturing is going to be good for your business. When you're looking at the Fed and some of the decisions there as we go ahead throughout the year, how important are Fed rate cuts to your business, to your customers, and the idea of the U.S. actually getting out of this freight recession it's been in for the last 2 years?
Listen, I think that we've got some domestic certainty around what policies would be. We could see what spending would be. I think that gives the Fed some leeway to consider rates. And I think that's probably good for the macro economy, good for us. But I think right now, I mean, really, I don't know that it necessarily, where the Fed is, I don't know that that necessarily slows or impacts investment. I think it's more about perhaps the uncertainty of what the rules of engagement would be going forward. So I think that, as our customers consider that and our industry considers that, I think that those sorts of macro uncertainty creates a little bit of a challenge. But as I mentioned earlier, I mean, I think our role in this is it won't impact necessarily where we make investments or what we're doing to execute our plan. It's more about keeping our business focused on what the customer needs. So as the customer adjusts, we adjust. And, we're very closely aligned to what customer needs and where their investments are going.
Fritz, FedEx announced it's going to spin off its LTL business, the biggest in the country. It's a rival of yours. We also heard Knight Swift on its last earnings call saying it's actually looking at its earnings call before the last one, I should say, looking at possible M&A here in the U.S. in the LTL space, possibly on the East Coast. When we're looking at LTL, I mean, what's the outlook? Do you see competition increasing? Do you see your pricing power increasing? What's the longer-term outlook specifically for 2025?
Yeah, I think for broadly in the business, it's a competitive business. We've got, you mentioned some very formidable competitors there for sure. The underlying economics of this business are highly inflationary. And where your business is positioned, where the real estate investments are, how your proximity to customers, all those things matter. And we feel like with the network that we've built, and we added 21 facilities last year, and we've actually added 69 if you go back to 2017. We've had an eye on focusing and expanding our network to become a national network that's very closely aligned to what our customers need. And as a result of that investment, we will be compensated for that service and the reach and network that we provide. And certainly we compete with the two names you mentioned as well as others. And we differentiate because we feel like our focus on the customer and our team's focus on the customer matters, and customers are willing to pay for that. That's value to their supply chain, and that's long-term value to a customer is long-term value to a Sire's shareholder.